What are we doing here, hon?
Welcome to month 2 of our composting experiment. This is day 37, January 22nd. So last time, in the last video, we finished it off. It was peaking around 140 to the 150 range, and we anticipated it start to go down, and then as we flip, it would keep bumping up. So in the 5 days since I flipped, or sorry, the 7 days since I flipped it, it has dropped. It's now down to 130, which I learned this week is 1 degree below thermophilic. I thought 121 was thermophilic, but it's actually 131. So yeah, we are gonna get in here and give it a flip, and then we'll monitor the temperatures and come back. And in this video, we're gonna do a little twist. So yeah, I think you guys will like it. We'll just come back with a few closing thoughts and then continue on from there. So awesome.
Sure. So we're gonna do a test today and see if I can do the compost flip by myself. How hard is it? How does it make me feel? Can I get through the whole thing? And how long does it take me?
Okay.
I can't reach.
It's fine. Oh, look at that. You get any?
I got a worm.
Oh no, then stop squeezing. All right, okay. Well, Colleen just finished flipping it, which is awesome. The pile looked really good, and it's kind of consistent. We did just 130 in the middle, and then at the bottom, it was just over 100. So it's definitely kind of cooling together. And doing the squeeze test, definitely, it actually feels like it's getting more and more moist. We're definitely not going to add any water, and I think next year we would start off with less water. So yeah, I'll be back this week, get a few temps, and then we'll be back in probably a week to flip it again. And I think for sure we're in the phase where it's going to do this, but it'll just, as we flip it, it'll just keep doing that. So yeah, we'll see you in a second. Okay, it's February 5th, actually a couple weeks since we were here last, and yeah, since we flipped it, it's just kind of steadily gone from kind of 100-ish degrees Fahrenheit, and now it's down just above 80 degrees. So a little bit of a break in the weather. Thought we'd flip it, and if there's anything interesting, we'll show you guys. So I'll get busy on flipping it. Let's go. Yeah, so one big change since last time is the amount of worms. Right down where is actually quite warm, probably maybe 70 degrees Fahrenheit, just maybe 2-3 inches down. There's a bunch of worm activity, so they're definitely telling us that the pile is cooling off for sure. So the pitchforks, each one feels quite light. So I'm thinking, yeah, not getting any drops there. That's super interesting. I thought it was going to get wetter and wetter as it went, but definitely drier. Still no water. Super interesting. Okay, so it was pretty consistent, the temperature. It was actually about 85, 90 on top, and down at the bottom is about 65, 70. So that seemed to be pretty much this kind of the same ratio as it was when it was thermophilic. Like it'd be 150 at the top and then 120 at the bottom, so about the same ratio. So let's give it a squeeze test on the bottom. One drop, but you can see it's really nice stuff. So yeah, let's keep flipping it. Again, no drops. Super surprised. Okay, easy money. That was like 15 minutes. It was super interesting. There was so little moisture than I was expecting this time. I was expecting it to get just the pile to keep getting wetter and wetter and wetter, especially when it's thermophilic, because I feel like when it's thermophilic, like it's really using the moisture and converting that to gas and working on the carbon. But this was amazing. Like there was worms all the way through it. Every pitchfork felt light, like it wasn't that heavy, and it was super tempting to add water, but I'm not going to. We're actually going to do something this week and bring you guys in on that in a couple days. So yeah, super happy with it. Consistency's really good. Obviously hasn't lost hardly any of its volume. So yeah, let's go. We'll see you guys in a couple days. And if the temperatures do spike back to thermophilic, I'll hold off on the next project. But if they do what I anticipate they do, we'll get going on that in a couple days. So day 53, February 7th. So looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. So today, pretty excited about today. I was able to go to the same spot that me and my Gramps went to. Man, it's got to be about 40 years ago. He used to go here every year. He had a beautiful garden. He used to double dig it, and we would collect kelp together. Super cool. So I was really excited to go down and grab some of that stuff. Now, the one thing I gotta recommend if you do live by the ocean and you are interested is make sure you check out your local laws or regulations or whatever they call them, and make sure that you're abiding by them. So yeah, without further ado, we are gonna get into it here. Yeah, and as to why I was chopping it up, basically it was just what he did. So yeah, I haven't seen it done before, but he used to chop it up and then throw it in his trench and then cover it back up. So so yeah, I figured if it was good enough for him, it was good enough for me. So kelp and seaweed are full of micronutrients, and they have a good balance of NPK in them as well. So I am really interested in feeding it into here. I figured this is probably somewhere between 600-800 liters, and I've collected about 10% of that. It's probably anywhere between 60, maybe 80 liters of seaweed. I wouldn't want to put much more than that in there. It's full of water, obviously. So last time we were in here, I was amazed at how dry this was. I'm going to add the kelp and the seaweed in layers. I'm going to do a kind of a flatter plateau instead of just piling it up, and then just layer it in, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 different layers in there. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So one last thing before I get started, there's probably a lot of you that are saying, I don't live by an ocean, I don't have access to it, what can I do? Well, my first tip is go down to the comments. There are some uber smart people down in the comments that will have lots of suggestions as to what else you can use. But I mean, if we lived in the Midwest or somewhere away from the ocean, I would use comfrey, nettles. I've used thistle. I use weeds. I use kind of everything. Now, the only caveat to that is if you're using weeds, you're probably wanting to do hot compost, not lazy compost, because the hot compost kills off the weed seeds. So just something to consider. And yeah, if you're not worried about picking out a few weeds here and there, definitely fine to go into your lazy compost as well. So yeah, let's get going. Smells awesome. No drops, but definitely balling up, sticking together. Still lots of worms in it, so let's get putting the kelp and seaweed in there. Throw some chunky ones in there just to see. Oh, before I forget, I didn't wash any of this. I know some people say to wash it, some people say it's fine not to. I'm not gonna wash it. It's warm, about 80 degrees. Nothing. Still a nice ball. The other thing I gotta say that makes this such a pleasure to do is this just smells like fresh ocean. Because I got it yesterday, I didn't let it stew. It smells awesome. Yeah, it just smells like the ocean. So. Not a drop. Smells great. Again, see, it's balled up. And awesome. Awesome. Okay, awesome. Took just under 30 minutes to do. Yeah, it was super nice. Really nice that the kelp and the seaweed was so fresh. It smelled great doing it. So yeah, two things that I'm most interested in is the temperatures. See if the kelp and seaweed and the supposed nitrogen sources in them will bump the temperatures up, or if the extra moisture that I added by adding it will actually create some more heat as well. So we're a week out from wrapping up month 2, so I'll be back hopefully most days to check on temps, and we'll flip it at least one more time before we wrap up month 2. So fingers crossed. But yeah, super stoked. So I'm just gonna cover it up because we got some weather coming. So awesome. See you guys soon. Okay, it's a wrap. It's day 57, February 11th, I do believe. And we're a couple days short of 2 months exactly, but next week's going to be a gong show for us. And yeah, it's a good time to jump in here. So just got a temperature. It's 84 degrees, which means it's steadily bumping up, which means I'm not going to flip it. Last time we added some kelp and seaweed to it, and maybe the added moisture, maybe the nitrogen in the kelp has kept the temperatures coming up a little bit. So when I took the top off, definitely some worm activity. So the salt in the kelp has not scared off the worms, which is great. And I'm just going to kind of dig in here and see what we got. So it's not smelling exactly like fresh ocean now. So okay, yeah, see the worms in there? Definitely don't seem to mind. You can definitely see, I mean, aside from the kelp, there's really no greens left in there. It's just a lot of carbon left in there now. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so this is the second video that I've ever made a list on. I wouldn't call this a script, but I have tons of questions, and I didn't want to forget them. And hopefully you guys can help us out with a few of them. So the first thing is that we are super stoked that we kept a graph and recorded the temperatures. It was a little bit difficult getting over here every day because we don't live here, but getting the temperatures every day, every other day, every third day has really shown us some interesting things. Okay, so first thing is that you can definitely tell where we flipped it, you can see the temperatures drop steeply and then start climbing back up. So that's been kind of cool to be able to see how the pile reacts to one, getting flipped and getting air into it, and then seeing the temperatures come up from there. The second big thing is we can definitely tell that the introduction of coffee on day, I think it was 9 or 10, and the bokashi really helped the pile go to thermophilic. Like I'm pretty confident that the pile would not have gotten as hot as it did if we didn't add the coffee or the bokashi. It was quite evident that it was coming up very, very slowly and almost plateauing at 120, and then after we added it, integrated it into the pile, the temperatures just took off. So for that alone, it was really a benefit to track the temperatures as much as we could, almost on a daily basis. So all right, so one of the great things about doing this is that I've discovered that I have a ton more questions than I do answers. So I've got a few questions, hoping you guys can help me out with it, and I'm gonna have some crazy kind of crackpot theories of my own. But yeah, so let's see here. Okay, so one of the questions is, like, looking back at the chart, you can see the amount of times that we flipped it when it was thermophilic, it would bounce right back up. But kind of what I'm wondering is if we just left it once it hit thermophilic, let it go to a point, plateau, and then kind of come cool down, and then at the 131 mark or somewhere around there, then chose to flip it, would it stay thermophilic longer? So my theory on that is that yes, it probably would have. The only worry that I have, because I'm so new at composting, was leaving it longer. Potentially, I mean, there could have been anaerobic problems. It could have been too moist, because the pile was quite moist. I wanted to get my hands in there and see. So I think that was a benefit to flipping it as much. But next year, I think what we're gonna do is probably leave it a little bit longer, because of the lessons that we learned. After it's gone thermophilic, it's actually, the pile has dried out quite a bit, and it was never really anaerobic at all at any point. So okay, question number 2. As you guys saw, as the pile dried out, which was absolutely amazing to me, if we added water, as I noticed it was getting drier, do you think that the temperatures would have bumped up, or that they would have just continued on the same kind of trajectory that they were? I don't have a theory for that. All right, and third question: do you think there was a benefit to adding the kelp after the thermophilic cycling had finished? I could have put it in at the very start, but I was just interested in leaving it until after the pile had kind of gone over. And because this pile is going to sit here for probably until next fall or longer, I got no problem with it kind of breaking down slowly over time. But just interested in hearing what you guys think about that. Okay, so I've got a couple crazy theories, especially as to why the pile we never added any water after the initial build, but the pile seemed to get wetter and wetter in the first month, at least, or in the first 40 days. It got wetter and wetter, and I think because we have it tarped, what was happening was that when the pile got hot and thermophilic and it started to steam would come up, hit the cardboard, and especially the tarp on top. Then it would cause the condensation, and obviously the condensation would keep the pile so much more moist. And then once the pile chewed through all the nitrogen or the green materials, the temperature started to drop, and the majority that was left would be the carbon. And as the carbon started using up the water, there was less steam because there was less heat, and that continued to dry the pile. I'm not sure. Sounds pretty crazy. It's totally kind of correct in my head, but it's kind of hard to describe. So If you guys got any thoughts on that, that would be super interesting as well. Okay, for those of you that are still here, just want to thank you guys. Learned a ton from you in the comments. Just been awesome, and the support has been great. We're going into month 3. We are planning on doing some interesting stuff in month 3 and 4. It's going to get flipped a lot less, but we're definitely going to be playing around with some vermicomposting with this, and also maybe a couple other amendments. So yeah, just can't thank you guys enough. It's been awesome to build this pile. Totally, it's a pretty special pile for sure. And yeah, stay awesome. Third take is gonna be brilliant. You're gonna be frozen by the end of this.
I'm freezing now.
Don't pressure me.
I know.
Not good under pressure.